Third section is kind of how does it work? And so we're going to go from basically start to finish. I'm also actually going to jump on the website and we're going to submit a actual practice tip so you guys can see what that looks like. So the first thing that we have is a bystander that reports a concern. As I mentioned in our kid messaging, we say trusted adults are always your plan A. And so that's why we're really great that you guys have impactful parent and are really teaching parents how to build those relationships and talk to kids, is because we don't replace that and we don't want to. And if a kid talks about a safety concern to you or to a teacher, that's a win for us, right? We always say we're the plan B. If that's too hard, your trust adult isn't around, or if it's after hours, or you don't even know where this goes because you don't know people at your friend's school, or you see something online, like you're playing a video game or you're playing a chat room or whatever kids do online, and you see somebody talking about suicide or planned school attack. You're like, I don't even know this kid. Those are the things that we want for us, right?
I have a question for you
Yep.
for just a second, as I don't want to forget it. Along that same line, let's say you have a teenager who does feel comfortable coming to you as a parent and says something like, hey, one of my friends, or even an acquaintance at school, I am worried about them. They might do this, blah, blah, blah. As a parent, we may not know what to do and who to contact. As a parent, do we also contact Safeztell, or is that okay? Absolutely.
Yep. So I'd say there's two things that you could do as a parent to contact, Safeztell. I think first, if you're like a direct reporter or a direct witness or something for that. But I think also, with your child or on behalf of your child, submitting a tip, I think is a fantastic idea, because you might not know where to go. And that's why we exist, because we're like the one phone number, the one app. But then also, as I'm thinking about middle school and high school kids, then the conversation you might have with a student is saying, hey, like, why don't you talk with your school counselor? And, it kind of just escalates to the student not wanting to tell someone. And my recommendation is that's probably not the time to talk about advocacy skills with kids, because that peer pressure and all that is hard. And instead just say, great, let's make a report together. So absolutely, we would love parents themselves with their children or on behalf of their children to submit a tip for sure. Yeah, great question. I just put this in there because you might have some folks in your audience that are mandated reporters under law about child abuse that have to report it. And we're not the avenue for mandated reporting. The easiest way to describe it is you have to CYA as a mandated reporter and prove that you did your due diligence, right? Because you could be held liable if you don't. And because we're anonymous, we have no way to prove that you reported it. My thing is this, if you're in doubt, send it to the normal mandated reporting way, and also send it to Safeztell. That can't hurt.
And just to clarify to the audience, mandated reporters are people like teachers, principals. I'm trying to think of it. I mean, there's a slew of them, but you would know it's a part of their profession.
You would know. Yep. So majority adult audience isn't, but just to put that in there, just a recommendation. That would be, I say, the one exception for folks for that. So here's step 2. So number 1, we have a bystander, and that could be you as a parent that overhears something from your child or with your child. And then you can call us on the phone number there. You can use the website, or there's a app on Google Play and then on the App Store. Our data is roughly about a third are from the phone call, roughly a third are PC on the website, roughly a third are mobile on the website, and then roughly a third are on the App Store. Oh, I thought I had more on that slide, sorry. So the mobile app is really, really cool. This is a screenshot of what it looks like. And so there's a local 4-digit passcode. So you don't like make a user account with us or anything. That's just stored on your phone. And that's kind of how serious we take the anonymity of tipsters, is if kids share their phone for like music or whatever, or you share your phone, that people can't go snooping around to see what tips you've submitted. So my recommendation for parents is this: if your kids have devices, to put the Safeztell app on there, but don't go like snooping around to see what their Safeztell tips are, because they want to be anonymous, right? if you're curious what the app is, just put it on your own phone and you can see what it looks like. But I think kids would really appreciate that independence, that they turn it in and they handle it, and then they don't have anybody know that it's them.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, probably the most important detail, in addition to like all the main ideas for how Safeztell works. And it's this is, after you hit send, you'll, again, I'll do an example in a moment, but you'll get an automatic message back that says, hey, thanks for your tip. And Safeztell will always say, hi, this is so-and-so. Like, hi, this is Mark. Hi, this is Natalie. Hi, this is Alan, whoever their first name is. And then they'll ask some follow-up questions. And I imagine kids or tipsters, sometimes when they hit the send button, then they just, throw their phone across the laptop, or they're like, I'm done, or, that kind of thing. And basically, the more specific that people can be in giving us information, the more specific we can be in helping their friends. And so if people have their desires to protect, prevent, and help, they probably have like 5 extra minutes to stick around and talk to us. And if they don't know the answer to the questions, that's fine. But I used to teach kids like all the different things that would be good in a good tip, like a screenshot and a first name and a last name and all that. And probably you guys know as parents, they only remember about half of what you tell them anyway. And so the important thing to emphasize for you, that you guys as parents stick around, but then emphasizing when you're talking to your kids, is to stick around. And we live in an age of instant gratification. And so you're going to hit send, and then it might be 30 seconds, 2 minutes, because it's real people that are on the other end. And so kids, within 3 seconds, their attention span is going to be done. And so it's like, stick around, they'll get to it. Okay. So then step 4, right? So then we get it from us, and then we, make sure it's a school and that kind of thing. We'll, as I said, we'll scrub out any identifying information for you as a tipster. One side note for your parents is we do get quite a few tips a month that adults and parents elect to give their contact information. And so they'll say, I'm the parent of so-and-so. I'm really worried about this in the class. Here's my phone number. I'd like people to call me. And that's totally okay and totally fine if folks voluntarily disclose their contact information. We'll take that. We'll gladly take that and store that from there. So if you want people to call you back or something like that, you can elect to leave your phone number. Anyway, so I guess the question people ask is what happens? And the easiest answer is telling kids and telling parents is, what would happen if you told somebody in person, right? And so let's take the example of bullying. If it was bullying and you reported it in person to the school, it might be the school principal, might be the school resource officer, it might be the school counselor that's going to come together and problem solve. And if your school does like restorative justice, which is where kind of 2 students would sit down together and try to figure out and problem solve together. Or if your school does like a notify the parents or a lunch detention, or usually they'll have kind of a menu of options in person, right? That you kind of know of. With Safeztell, that tip goes to the same people generally. And because it's the same people, the way that they handle that tip is generally going to be the same. Do you have any, I guess, insight about that, Kristina, for parents that you want to add?
My only thing I was thinking of is just clarifying that Safeztell is for tips for other children other than yours, right? So if you're worried about your own child, Safeztell is not necessarily the place you want to go. For that, I would recommend, if you have real concerns, you can take them to Children's Hospital. You can take them to any emergency room. They'll give you a slew of procedure that you need to do, because the hospitals will do an evaluation to see how threatening that threat is, of suicide or depression and whatever. Obviously psychologists too, but is that correct? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. I'll also I'll share with you a link that you can share with your audience. But there's also a fantastic here in Colorado, and I think other places have a similar one called Colorado Crisis Services, and they have a Below the Surface campaign. And so it's like a free hotline that has counselors that, your child can call, or you can call with them. They also have like walk-in centers that you can go in and get support and get assistance, and they'll take kind of anybody in the door, whether they have insurance or not. So I don't know too much about them, but I do know that that's a statewide program that they're also really trying to support people that have mental health concerns that want to go see that. Yeah, as Kristina said, we're primarily for people that observe something and see it. We do get, a small handful of self-reports, tips every month. And so if we do get those self-reports, or you're like, I don't even know where to go, we can direct you over to Rocky Mountain Crisis Services, or direct some other services, or let the school know on your behalf as a student or as a parent that you need to speak to someone as well. But yeah, if you need to call and talk to somebody about your own counseling issues, like Safeztell, we'll refer you out, but we don't actually do that. So then the last step is it goes to the local partners, and they kind of investigate and follow up. And then the tip is closed out. And so they report back to us what happened. And it's just as generic as, called the parents, school disciplinary action, threat assessment, a suicide assessment, that sort of thing. And one thing I want to share is our local partners do a really great job, but sometimes there's kind of this perception or this lack of trust that, if we report it, that like nothing will get done. And I'm kind of putting that in air quotes, right? Nothing will get done. And just know that if it's important enough for you to let us know, it's important enough to hold the school accountable and the local people accountable to look at that and take that concern seriously. And so just know that we'll make sure that they'll look at it, and they'll open it, and they've received that tip from there. So I wanted to go up here real quick to our website and do a sample tip. And so this is safeztell.org. And then on all the pages, there's a big yellow button that says submit an anonymous report. And so I click on that. And then this form is almost identical to what's in the mobile app. So you can see a description of an event, school type, your concern, a lot of that information. You can also translate the form into some different languages: Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Somali. One other distinction, and this is on a couple places, but if there's an active like crime in progress, so like there's a fire, or there's actually like a bad guy in a school, or someone has, taken pills or kind of carried out their plan, like 911 is probably going to be the better choice than Safeztell for that. All right, so you would type in your school here. So as you can see, the school name, you can type in a city. And so I'm going to type in, let's see. Oops, I have two T's. Let's see. I'm not seeing the school I wanted. All right, well then, so let's say we wanted to send it into, Abraham Lincoln School. So we type in here, and then you type in, I'm just being really brief here. Our student was talking about suicide, and here's all the different categories that you can see. Everything from child abuse, cyberbullying, dating violence, ditching, gangs, guns, planned parties, planned school attack. There's a category here.
Schools on there too?
Is what?
You have private education institutions on there?
We do. So we're in all of the public schools here in Colorado. And then private schools, we're in, I don't know the exact percentage, but we're in quite a few of them. They kind of have to elect in. And so if you go on the list there and don't see your school and your kids go to a private school, definitely reach out to them or let us know from that. That being said, if we do get a tip for your school and we don't have it, like they're going to Google and they're going to they'll find your school and they'll call them and they'll call the law enforcement within your jurisdiction and let you know. And there'll be ways that certainly your school can get that information. One note here is there's a requesting information category right here that I've highlighted. And so we get tips all the time from people that are saying like, is it really anonymous? Or is this something I should report, or just kind of questions about that. And so if you have questions, or your children have questions about kind of the process of Safeztell, you can certainly put that in there. There's vaping here, sexting. There's kind of all sorts of safety categories. And then you'll go down here and you'll hit the submit button. And then once you hit submit, it'll go then, like I said, to that local school team. So usually it's a principal, a school counselor, a school resource officer, maybe a school dean. If there's people at the district, if it's a public school, it would be like, supervisor of mental health or head of security or something like that. And then it'll go to your local law enforcement comm center.